All right, so the satellite data confirms. Now, please keep in mind, it took them 10 years to release this data. And unbeknownst to me, I had just done a video today about the African La Nina off of West Africa in the Atlantic Ocean. And then all these people wrote me back and are like, "Whoa, I mean, what about the Southern Oscillation? You seen anything about the Southern Oscillation? Not the AMOC, which is the Atlantic overturning circulation, but this is the southern version of it in Antarctica." And I got a couple articles pulled up for you here. Now, this one for the satellite data confirms the Southern Ocean entered a new physical state. So, a lot of people are under the impression that the ocean has actually reversed its circulation, which is not true. What it's talking about is ocean salinity at the top 100 feet, 200 feet of the ocean surface waters. That's not driving down the normal flow of it, because this is kind of what the Day After Tomorrow movie was based on. Is the ocean, the salinity thinned too much, or there wasn't enough salinity to get that heavier water to drop, and then that circulation pattern stopped on a dime, literally. But as you look at this article here on the Watchers, it was one of my favorite ones. They find that the Southern Ocean may have entered a new physical state not previously observed in, get it, modern observational era. So they're not saying it's the first time it's ever happened. It's just saying in the modern era, which for me is 1979 and forward. This is the modern instrumentation era. So if we go further back into the British, I'm sure they have logs of and had kept seawater samples, and you could probably find those elsewhere going back to the late 1700s. The Dutch did as well. I'm sure there's records stretching back to the 15 and 1600s from the Spanish with some of the same details of, I know they didn't go down to Antarctica at that time, but areas across the planet that are seemingly first time evers, maybe not. So what they noticed here, and I'll put this is very important for those. This is such a sensational, like, fear story. Do not believe it. What they're talking about a long-term freshening increase of surface salinity. And that just means that there's more fresh water going in, less salt water. So what they're saying is Antarctica is melting in certain areas, not all of it. In some areas, that's pushing fresh water. And now they're blaming increasing sea ice on global warming and rising temperatures. So, try to put that in perspective. There's more sea ice because we're warming the planet. So it's jumped the shark to the point they need to explain why there's more sea ice now. We've actually crossed that Rubicon. Sea ice is increasing, and they need to explain why. And then suddenly, conveniently, after all this decade, this story comes out, and suddenly we got all this less dense surface waters, a vertical mixing explanations as to why there's more sea ice. But at the same time, I guess the freshening of it here. I want to pull up another. Let me see. Where am I at here? I need to get this. Let me find this. I had them. Okay. Southern Ocean Oscillation. Share this tab instead. There we go. They have several articles that have come out over this last days or so. And what they're talking about is a major reversal in ocean circulation, which is not exactly true. The ocean did not reverse itself down there, so do not buy this. They're trying to obfuscate and confuse everybody. And here's the one that really puts it into perspective here. They actually did a good job of it, even though they're, super global warming, rah-rah. Ocean reversal hysteria, facts not included. So this whole media machine that's coming out to talk about the entire surface and the entire Southern Oscillation has reversed itself, and it's never happened before. What they're finding here is, for decades, Southern Polar Ocean, and this is about 50 south or so, it's been because of melting ice. Like I said, they're talking about the salinity only. They're just talking about the surface salinity. And this has only been measured since 2015. So again, they talk about the mid-1970s is when the data really started to be collected about this. So we're not even talking, 60 years maybe? And they're trying to make a whole thing like the entire planet's oceans are reversing because of 60 years of data. And it's all about salinity content. It is not about water circulation. They are talking about water, don't get me wrong, but they're talking about the mixing, and they're talking about the downwelling, the vertical circulation, the vertical, instead of what you consider the entire ocean mixing. I don't know why they decided to put this. And here's the whole thing. I even read it's very clear here. Providing essential evidence of the Southern Ocean's potential transition toward persistently reduced sea ice coverage. But look at that. See, it's in blue there. But then right up here, that says the sea ice expansion because of the surface salinity changes. In the same paragraph, reduced ice, but also increasing ice, literally in the same paragraph. So you can see the confusion amongst people here. And don't be derailed by this whole Southern Oscillation. I don't know why they've decided to pop it up and really just go so deeply with this and scare everybody right now. The only reason I can possibly think is because sea ice is increasing around Antarctica, which it is. They're borderline at the coldest that it's ever been in terms of record coldest temperatures ever in Antarctica this year, right now. So they have to explain something away. And if we come down to the earth changes, this is one of my favorite sites to look at. All these different ideas are here. So you got volcanoes and sinkholes and whatnot. And if we go back to just the home page here, which I don't know how to go to without taking off this. All it is flash floods. Another bridge has collapsed. There was a collapse of the bridge over in India. We got collapses of bridge in China and Nepal. And everywhere you look at, this is what I completely, Ransom, I know I have said this before, that as we get into this earth rifting type of thing electromagnetically, we're going to see an enormous amount of bridges start coming down because they're getting tugged at the banks in different directions. And we would see a lot of sinkholes, and we would see a lot of electrical activity in the atmosphere, like these rare gigantic jets. This thing's stretching up nearly 100 miles up to the ionosphere. And, everywhere you look, it's just something. The polar wander has been blamed on global warming, ice accumulation. Again, the opposite. Okay, so global warming, I thought everything was melting, but now they're saying that ice damming is really the cause for the polar wander, not the actual magnetic field changes. So again, they don't want you to look at this. They don't want you to talk about magnetic field changes, because this truly is the 50,000-pound elephant in the room. If all the changes we're seeing are being driven by magnetic field changes, then there's really, it's kind of game over at that point in terms of, how the society is going to act and behave. Nobody's going to believe in the future. So anything in terms of investment, because we're coming really close to a lot of people waking up to the fact that their explanation of ice dams causing the geomagnetic poles to move, but we're supposed to be into an extreme hot house where ice melts and there's no more ice left, and ice is a thing of the past, into using ice as an excuse for ice damming for the geomagnetic wandering. We got, like that article, there's more ice occurring around in Antarctica, so they need to explain that away. We got, as in the beginning of the show, I was saying, the snow events in Turkey, the snow events in China, and then the Alps just received a foot of snow over the last couple of days. Like, there's a lot of anomalies happening. Parts of Europe were cold at the same time they told you focus on the heat wave in Spain. All of Eastern Europe going over into the Ukraine, by the way, were like 10 degrees Celsius, which is almost, 18 degrees, or you could say, if you want to do the just 2.2 degrees, then 22 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than normal for this time of the year. And there's a lot of anomalies happening. Asia as a whole, general, cooler than normal right now. And I just got those NOAA and the European data charts off that I did the video this morning. They're only showing 0.2 degree Fahrenheit globally as of today of the total temperatures over the 30-year average. Just 0.2 of 1 degree Fahrenheit, not even a degree Celsius, a degree Fahrenheit. So there's a lot of things aren't making sense. So a lot of excuses need to come forth. So you keep investing. You keep going to work until you're outsourced by AI, and you please obey the rule of law and kind of keep things like stitched together until it's time for the rug pull. And that thanks for joining us for the second hour. That is my intro, and I appreciate everybody here. And I'm going to go into the science as we move through the hour here. And I see you got your lightning mapper up there. What's up with?
Well, you remember last week I pointed out the lightning big pat. If you go watch our last episode, I pointed out that big lightning bundle right in the center of Texas, right right down by Kerrville and stuff, and that big old Sprite that you showed, which is the biggest that we've ever seen. That's
Yes,
the storm that came out of. The night we were talking about all the electricity, that's when they took that photograph from the ISS. So if you look, remember last week I was telling you that these storms down here where I live, they just go in two lines usually. It goes off in one direction over Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Kentucky and Tennessee and all that. Or you get this one that goes up through Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and eventually ends up around Chicago. And you can see that right now. So you can see that line of things. I guarantee you this one down that's right now in Mexico is going to kill people over here in the U.S. And this happens every time. I watch it every year. I can literally go outside in this mountain range right here. See, there's none. I saw this earlier today. It was over where I live earlier, and it's moving in this line, and you can just see the line. So there's literally no reason for people to get caught off guard. We have so much technology that tells you this is coming. The only problem is that people don't bother to look, and they don't bother to prepare if they did look. So maybe it won't hit you, but maybe it will. But I was pointing out, look at all this lightning again. Worldwide lightning, and again, it's all over here around this the Gulf of America. We'll just put it that way. You see all this lightning?
Gulf of the list never released.
And here's the other patch of it over near China. So and again, if I zoom out again, well, I think that's as far. It's all in the same latitudes. It's all right around the globe, all in the same spot.
Yeah, so let me throw that thing. I did find finally the article I was looking for here. Let me pop it up for you. This one here, rarest number cold the front. Now, again, this was preceded by electrical activity in those same areas that you were talking about in Europe here that was slamming against the mountains. So you had this heat slamming against the record heat in the Mediterranean, and then somehow record heat from Spain all the way up into France with record heat across the Mediterranean that turns into a foot-deep snowstorm in the Alps. Explain that one to me. This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts. Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Something has gone terribly awry with our systems here. And the only way I could possibly explain that, Ransom, is that has to be something to do with the magnetic field of the planet has shifted to the point now where it's not controllable. It's to the point now where civilization is being ripped apart at the threads. So how much longer can you keep humanity like pacified, I guess is their best word, and have them still behave as they were trained, however, whatever their age is? You know?
Well, that condition over in Europe is kind of like this. You have right here today it's only 79 degrees now that the sun went down, but earlier today it was a 105, extreme heat. But if you see this little line, even from right here to over here, 68 degrees up in the mountains. So all this moisture hits here, and it gets really cold when it hits that 12,000 feet area, and it literally just lifts right up the mountain. It changes. It totally changes. It gets cold in the upper parts, and then it rolls out in the plains in devastating death. And I see. I mean, I literally see it. I could be. I don't know anything about meteorology really, but I can see a pattern when I see a pattern. So. Right here, right now, it looks like over here in near Des Moines, you're going to get hammered right there. This is going to be severe flooding. And then whenever you go over to this, where is it? The severe weather map. There's always this thing you can go look at. And they're telling us heat advisory. It's so hot. It's record breaking. No, it's not. It's actually quite a mild year right now. Now over in Phoenix, they're talking about, how hot it is over there. See, they don't even have an extreme weather uh, thing on the map there, even though it's like 111 to 115 degrees out there, because that's a normal temperature for that area, especially like right around the Phoenix and Tucson area. It is hot, high desert. And people don't really realize how much of this whole area in the Southwest, if you don't live in a city, you ain't got no water when the power turns out. So, like, we talk about these scenarios that are happening. You guys over in the South, you're lucky. There's rain. There's always rain. There's always water. You can kind of look forward to that. But over here, if they turn off the power, everything's dead. It's just off. And you would have to have an artesian well to survive, like they did prior to the electric grid being installed over here. I kind of
Yeah,
wanted
well,
to.
Ransom, let me share something real quick with you. I had that slide already ready for the sea surface temperatures. Let me slide
Go
this
for
one
it.
here. There you go. So what we're looking at here is the Atlantic Nina, and that's what's off of West Africa. Now that was pegged to the charts down to 3 degrees Celsius, so they had to change the charts up to like the 5-degree range. And look at that cold blob that's over coming off of, let's say, Baja and out there. And then the La Nina is forming. That's a dissipation wave that you're seeing right there of the El Nino. That's turning cooler, and you'll start to see that area going all the way out to Indonesia, turning blue. Now, the interesting thing, you're starting to see the cold blob in the north start to emerge itself. So this is what's something going to be, looking at coming up in, let's say, the autumn. And for those of you who really want to do the research on this, you can go to coralreefwatch.noaa.gov, and that's where this is. And this gives you the, just the full look at it. And east, we go global, and if you can look at the tropics on regional images. But look at the heat wave that's coming off of the ocean temperatures up in Japan.
Yeah.
Right. So you're getting this dichotomy here. And then what's so interesting, if I might pop into, I think I'm going to go west on this, east or west. No, sorry, it should be east. That'll take me over to where the Arabian Peninsula is. Why is it so cold off the Arabian Peninsula? That is in the Middle East, south of Saudi Arabia and Oman and Yemen right there. But the water temperatures are 4 degrees Celsius below normal. So you start to look at some of these anomaly spots. And as you come down here, that's equatorial. Why is it so cold across the equator then, or not the equator, but off the Southern Ocean going down toward Antarctica? You're getting these blobs again of the cool. And it seems to be a lot of these like splotches happening across the world here, where it's just hard to explain it. It doesn't make sense. And, South Atlantic, again, that cold area that they call it an Atlantic Nina is the proper term for it. Is like La Nina or El Nino are normally a Pacific event, but this is a Nina event that's occurring in the Atlantic. And this is what's dampening the hurricane formation, because there's also a lot of dust this year. So you're getting a lot of dust that dampens hurricane formation, but you're also getting this cool water pattern, which also the storms just kind of don't form themselves so quickly coming off of there. But, Southern Oceans, you're seeing a little heat, and you're getting this sort of, I call them blotches for the best term. And I'm trying to find the...
We got that one off of the Baja there. That is going to roll right over this hot patch of land, and it's going to create a lot of thunderstorms that are going to go northeast.
You're talking coming this direction right off of here, up
Yeah.
where this is going to roll into the monsoon's going to roll right over like where you are.
Absolutely. That's why we're having everybody's tripping about the flooding and stuff. It's not bizarre. It's just a circumstance. It's kind of messed up, because if you think about it, the guy that went out there and started the fire killed several people in the fire, but there's still people dying today because of that fire, because of the burn scars and the rapid amount of water that's coming off the watershed of the mountains there. It's messed up, but it is what it is. And then you kind of wonder why all of these people were out starting fires last year. And then you have this new weather pattern roll into all those same places that had the fire, dumping massive amounts of rain. And then people thinking, well, they're cloud seeding. It's geoengineering. It's weather weapons. Well, if you count, like Antifa and stuff like that as a weather weapon, matter of fact, they've charged, I don't know, at least 40 people in the last year for for producing climate change. And that really is man-made climate change. If you start a fire and then the following year you get flooded out and the whole demographics of the plant and animal life change in an area, you have completely climate changed that area. And that would be the only example of man-made global warming and climate change, because it got really warm on the globe where they started the fire.
Please remember civilizationcycle.com and also buy me a coffee /civilization cycle.